It is absolutely fabulous to be with you. This is my first trip here. I was so excited to be asked to come. A couple of months ago, some of you may know I was privileged to get a call from President Obama to ask me to serve as chair of the Democratic National Committee. Now, when the president calls and asks you to do something, the answer is pretty much always yes, but more importantly for me, as a gimme the ball kind of person, I was absolutely thrilled that the coach put me in. In 2008, President Obama ran a campaign powered by people at the grassroots level. You know that because you were an essential part of his grassroots team. As the name of this conference implies, the Netroots brought our nation together for President Obama. Grassroots and now Netroots campaigning has always been important to me as well. After all, you are looking at someone who won her first campaign in the face of opposition from the good old boy network that was and is alive and well by knocking on 25,000 doors in the middle of Florida's summer heat. Thank you. Now, when I think back on that race, I imagine how many more people I could have reached back then, and it was in 1992, so 18 years ago, if I had had access to the kinds of social media tools that are now available. I literally scraped together about $21,000, and the only way I had to reach the vast majority of the voters that I needed to go to the polls to convince to vote for me was my shoe leather. And that was great. Shoe leather worked for me. I won a 6-way primary with 53% of the vote, but thank you, thank you. But now Democratic candidates today have the opportunity through the Netroots to reach so many more, I mean thousands more people. And there are progressive office holders, thank God, across the US now, including in the White House, that would not be in office if it were not for the tools that you developed, that you expanded, and that you brought to the masses. They are there, those office holders are there because of you. So thank you so much. As a progressive, I personally thank you so much. Thank you. I'll applaud for you. Progressives have been better able than conservatives to take advantage of social media to win elections and win progress. And that's entirely to your credit. But conservatives are catching up, folks, and we need to be ever vigilant. Progressives can't take our advantage in the area of social media for granted. So one of our top priorities for the next year is ramping up our online engagement and making sure Netroots activists have a voice in the direction of the Democratic Party and the President's re-election campaign. That is a high priority for me as chair of the Democratic National Committee. We can't do it without you. We know the most productive way to reach potential voters is through one-on-one personal contact. There is no substitute for grassroots organizing on the ground and Netroots organizing online. That's why we plan on running a field-based campaign that is fueled by the ideas and talents of the activists who are involved. I am literally talking about all of you. We're putting technology to use to help our activists be even more effective. But you are all data-driven folks. I know that, so I don't want you to have to take my word for it. Let me give you a snapshot of what I mean and give you some real, concrete examples. Over the past few years, we've maintained a strong Democratic organization with staff in all 50 states, thanks to the 50-state strategy pioneered by Howard Dean. And I can tell you that I am looking forward to sitting down with Chairman Dean next week so that I can pick his brains clean on what he thinks that we should be doing to continue the fight to make sure that we can elect progressives all across this country. Our staff at the DNC and our volunteers are ingrained in their communities. When they pick up the phone, knock on a door, or organize a local group online for President Obama, they do so as a friend and a neighbor as a result of that grassroots outreach. But they also have another advantage. We've equipped our organizers and our activists with tools like an app that enables them to use maps on their smartphones to go door to door in their community. God, do I wish I had that in 1992, and empowers them to enter data in real time so that we can follow up with undecided or unregistered voters right away. In addition to utilizing technology to sharpen our ground game, we've also put an incredibly high priority on reaching out to voters through new media and new techniques, and we plan on building on that work in the next year. We understand most people get their information through highly personalized media. So we've continued to grow our presence on blogs and social media sites as well. We've created iPhone and iPad apps to provide volunteers with information right at their fingertips. We're using new technology for online organizing meetings that are almost exactly like house meetings, and I can't really wait to see this in action. Attendees can see each other by video conference, participate in polls to make decisions as a group, and even move into small group breakout sessions and report back on their conclusions. It just sounds so incredibly cool. The effect of this new technology is to provide online supporters with a volunteer experience that feels like the volunteer experience that they'd have in an offline field office, an unprecedented and powerful tool to have as we enter a new election. Now, as we continue to look for new and innovative ways to reach out to voters and activists, it is going to be incredibly important that we utilize new and ever more effective tools to do that. We're making sure that we leave no stone unturned. Already, we're holding volunteer trainings across America and reaching out to voters from across the political spectrum. We want the Democratic Party and the President's re-election campaign to continue to be inclusive of all Americans and to embrace the voice of the grassroots and Netroots to be the voice of the people. Because we know that your support is absolutely essential to the President's success. Now, just recently, we had a chance to see our party infrastructure at work, and the results were extremely positive. In a special election in New York's conservative 26th district, we were able to elect newly elected Congresswoman Kathy Hochul. Thank you very much for helping to send me a new roommate. Kathy and I are living in the same townhouse, along with Carolyn Maloney and Frederica Wilson and Terry Sewell. But this was just, to give you a little personal information. I know, TMI, I'm sorry. But this race was instructive for two reasons. First, that election showed once again that our grassroots activists are prepared and willing to put in the kind of time and effort that makes a difference in close elections. Bloggers and online activists played a huge role in making the upset in New York's 26th congressional district possible by keeping that race in the national eye, by raising the money that Kathy Hochul needed, and keeping her Republican opponent on the defensive. So thank you for that as well. In addition, in the days leading up to the vote, our volunteers made tens of thousands of phone calls and thousands of in-person voter contacts. And we expect that same level of effort and enthusiasm in 2012. And we're going to need you to help generate it. Second, we learned that voters aren't buying what Republicans are selling. Kathy Hochul's Republican opponent and the people who spent a small fortune against her in a solidly Republican district found out the hard way that their extreme plans to end Medicare and slash Medicaid and investments in health care, education, innovation, and job creation are just plain unpopular. Funny. Not really surprising, is it? Republicans, though, still continue to tout the same failed policies. They're saying cutting taxes for the wealthy and allowing business to self-regulate again is a silver bullet for the economy, that we should just trust them, because that worked out so well for us a couple of years in the last few years, didn't it? But we know better than that. We saw what happened under President Bush. Republicans' policies were bad for America then, and they are bad for America now. Republicans want to repeal financial reform, setting Americans up for another financial crisis in the future. And Republicans want to do away with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, taking us back to the days when Americans could be buried by the fine print on their mortgage or their credit card agreement. But Republicans aren't just bad for the economy. They're trying to take away some of our most fundamental rights, and that is unacceptable, and we are not going to stand for it. Unacceptable. Thank you. We've seen Republican governors strip away the rights of public employees to collectively bargain in Wisconsin and Ohio. We've seen Republicans in Congress take steps to try and drastically curtail women's reproductive rights. We've seen Republican governors in states like Florida and Wisconsin enacting voting laws that restrict voters' rights to cast their ballots. In more than 35 states across America, Republicans have pushed for photo ID laws that cost states millions and hurt minorities, the elderly, and young voters. Unacceptable, and we will not stand for it. The Democratic Party will fight these laws, and we are continuing to work to expand the electorate, but we're going to need your help, folks. There are big issues facing our country right now, I don't have to tell you. We need long-term solutions for our debt and our deficits. We need to invest in education and infrastructure, and we need to get our country on track with sustainable energy solutions, just to name a few. We've got a lot of work to do, and I know all of you have good ideas. Democrats are the party of big ideas and new technology, and we want your input. Please feel free to give it to us. I know I'm going to have to really push you hard to offer your opinion on the issues that matter to you, so just try to give us a little help. Republicans want to take us backwards, on the other hand. They think cutting taxes and deregulating everything solves all of our problems. It doesn't matter what the issue is. Their solution is cut taxes and deregulate. Now, that might make for a good soundbite, but it's not good for real people. So we're going to hold them accountable with their wrong-headed ideas. We're going to hold them accountable every day from today until Election Day. We're going to re-elect President Obama, retake the House, and hold on to the Senate. I cannot thank you enough for your devotion and your dedication. You are critical to our efforts, so I will see you on the trail and online and on to victory in 2012. Thank you so much for having me.